salute to the flag and a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Mr. Dietrich,
Here.
Mrs. Donahue,
Here.
Mr. Elling, Mr. Johnston,
Here.
Mr. Knopf, I can see you, Mr. Knopf. Mr. Koch,
Present. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Ms. Lynch,
Here.
Mr. Scholes,
Here.
and Mrs. Smith. Here. 9 members present.
Thank you. Before we get started, I want to announce that there was an executive session that was held on June 8th, starting at 6:02 PM and ending at 6:08 PM for legal reasons. And there was an executive session that was held on June 12th, starting at 6:46 PM and ending at 7:55 PM to review the Act 44 required safety reports. First item up for this evening is the communications plan update.
Yeah, Mr. Choma, would you be able to project that? Thank you. So the communication plan update is something that the board asked me to do back in, I want to say maybe late summer last year, when we prepared the communication plan. The board said that we don't want this to go to the wayside. We'd like to have an update on that maybe midway through the year and then again at the end of the year. And so that was actually one of the goals that you had established for me. So we had given you an update in January, myself and members of the team, and this would be again the second update for the year. Just a quick reminder that the communication plan was developed by stakeholders. It was a group of folks that I led using some data and also aligned with the goals from the previous comp plan and aligned with the vision and the district's mission, and mission and the shared values. And based on the mission, the vision, and the shared values, there were district goals that had been established. And the last 2 goals had to do with strong relationships with families and community, and also accessible and transparent communication. And so those 2 goals listed in red are really what this communication plan was developed around. There are 4 main components to this plan. The first one being stakeholder communications, the second one, crisis management communications, parent and community outreach communications, and then public relations and marketing. We had anticipated that some of the things in this plan had already begun when the plan was approved, or when presented to you, not approved, but then some things were to be implemented this school year, while some other things would be added in the subsequent years, because there was a lot in this plan. And so basically in the stakeholder communications area, something that was new this year, we moved to based on feedback, was moving away from a weekly superintendent's report or a monthly superintendent's report or newsletter to the whole district. But we found that parents really wanted to hear more from their schools, the individual schools, not necessarily district level communications. And so we moved to a quarterly district newsletter, to which we've actually been doing and publishing November, February, and it was supposed to go at the end of May. I think it was like June 1st when it got pushed out. And we also pushed it out also in a tool called Flipbook. So it was easy for people to access that online. We didn't use any printing fees or anything, but we published that through the Flipbook. Gotten some positive feedback from some folks. They liked the use of technology for getting the information out to everyone. A little further down, you'll see annual district report. That's something we want to work towards, and it's slated to begin at the end of next school year. The monthly school newsletters were actually a pretty big hit, and parents access those through not only the Blooms app, but also through our website. And then you can see there were also just other ways for weekly communications from at the building level from supervisors and principals. And then some of the other stuff has just been ongoing things that we've been doing, of course, special announcements and so forth. And then I would like to say, just note at the bottom of that table, you'll see that we've been talking a lot, not only at the policy committee, but at the board table. And I know that one of our students, Martin, is online tonight, and he's been interested in this as well. We're working towards having student reports at our board meetings starting next school year. So I'm not sure that we'll be able to start that right in September, but our plan is to get that up and running at least in the fall of next year. And then there's a little bit of data table here. This deliverability report is what Patty Stevenson was able to pull out of Blooms. The 15 alerts refers to the number of times that we sent like emergency alerts, such as like a remote day or an early dismissal or delay. The 63 announcements were things that were important but not timely. The 626 posts were just routine information, things that we needed to push out. And you can see the statistics there on the total number of phone calls, emails, and text messages and push messages that went out throughout the last school year. The following two tables just show you the difference by building of how many families and people have been accessing those building newsletters. And again, that was something that we had a big request for. And you can see that in each of the buildings, it seems that more people are using the Blooms app to view that than they are the website. And I think you can see as we went through the year, how those numbers actually increased in most of the places through the years with the Blooms app. It was a new tool. I think it took some time for some folks to get used to. And I also believe from some of the feedback I have, some buildings did a better job rolling it out than others. And so that's going to be an area that we're going to work on definitely in August, and September is getting that rolled out to families so that they make sure they understand what Blooms is and how to use it. It's a K-12 app. We went to that. We had originally had a different tool in our elementary schools, but no tool in our secondary schools. And families were really concerned about the disconnect at the secondary level. And having two different tools wasn't going to work very well for us, because if you have a family who has students in multiple buildings, they would have to log into multiple tools. So finding a K-12 solution was pretty important to us. I will say that it has not been glitch free. Blooms kind of became a lot more popular than they anticipated. So they might have outplayed their bankroll a little bit and they've had some technological difficulties. We've been working with the owner of the app and trying to work those things out. I know that Ed Choma, our supervisor of technology, has a weekly meeting with them, and I've asked to be included into the next meeting as well. Because if they're not going to be able to deliver what they've promised, then we may make some adjustments in that tool, but we are constantly evaluating that. But we want to also make sure that we're doing everything on our part and give them a chance to fix anything that has, broken. I think we're their biggest client, and they're still, but they're growing at a huge rate that I think they're struggling to keep up with the work, but we're going to keep giving it a try. The crisis management section, there's not a whole lot of new information here, but I'm going to ask Mr. Kondo, since he's the Act 44 safety coordinator for our district, to take care of the crisis management communication portion.
And as Dr. Martin just mentioned, there isn't a whole lot different here. A lot of it we actually just talked about the other night, but many of these items, as far as the goals are concerned, are required by statute. So this just talks and explains a little bit more about how we communicate those things. The one thing that I just really wanted to point out to the board and the public, and more information will be coming on this. Again, we brought it up the other night at our other meeting regarding school safety. But in August, Dr. Martin and I are putting together a safety and security forum where the general public will be invited in. All stakeholders will be invited to the school. And we intend to do a comprehensive overview of all school safety and security efforts. A lot of the things that, we've been talking about here the last few months. I think it's a good opportunity for us to get that information out to the public, let them see all of our plans and things that we have set up in case of an emergency. Also provide information about the different supports we have throughout the district, as well as offer opportunity for questions. So I'm really looking forward to that in August. And like I said, more information will be forthcoming here as we move through the summer.
Thank you. I just want to mention that, we've obviously been highlighting safety throughout the spring semester and throughout that time period, I've met with a couple of parents, and when we sat down and we met with the parents and we showed them all the things that were already in place and the things that we were planning to do, they were very happy with that for the most part. And they said, you really should find a way to get this information out to the community, because I don't think everybody knows all the efforts that are already in place. And so based on the recommendations from these families and all the things that Mark was preparing for the Act 44 report, and the work that the safety committee has done, we felt that it would be a great opportunity for us to have a forum where two-way communication could be part of that meeting. So thank you again for that piece. The parent and community outreach, some of these things have been ongoing. The one that I really wanted to kind of talk about from this section and highlight would be that's in the next one down, I think. The attendance campaign, attendance is still an issue. While attendance has been getting better in many of our schools, not in all of our schools. We were making some good headway in the 1920 school year until COVID hit. And then after we went remote for a while and then tried to come back and remote again, we've been having some difficulties. I think many students are having difficulties, and that is still impacting their attendance. So again, working on some ideas and ways to make sure that students are getting to school. There's still some students who are perfect attendance, and then we have a good amount of students who are missing more than 90% of their school year. And so that's the area that we're trying to work on. The community education and parent nights, we've been working on that, and we've also been able to provide childcare on those evenings so that parents can attend. And then promoting the Keystone Cares events. That's a monthly meeting that we have with a lot of different community agencies. And then we push those community engagement activities out on our social media and to students and parents through the Blooms app. And then I know the family engagement activities for new families, technology, media support, and those things. We're looking to implement some of those newer pieces next year. And then finally, in the public relations section, much of this stuff has been ongoing with some press releases, getting the good news out about the district. Those good news and press releases most frequently rely on myself and Patty Stevenson to push out to the local media. And then the one I wanted to call attention to on this page was the live broadcast at local radio station and on Facebook. We were doing that quite frequently prior to COVID, once a month. But then the local radio station reached out to us, Schlesinger Communications, and asked us if we would consider having an education spotlight. So every 2 weeks on a Tuesday, I believe it started in November, we had some folks going down to the radio station, taking some students with them, and then getting not only live airtime and that great experience for our students, but also it was being pushed out on Facebook Live at the same time. And so we were promoting things such as our concerts, our musicals, some athletics, both of our high schools. Also, the Rob Music concert, I think, was part of one of the times. Their student showcases that we had in every building was also the focus with Manda Mosier on one of those topics, and many more things. So just pushing out a lot of the great things that our students and our staff are doing that make us proud in the district. And so that includes the final update, again, making a lot of efforts and also watching and troubleshooting some of the issues that arise with communications.
Great. Questions, Elizabeth?
Thank you. Dr. Martin and everyone, thank you. It's a really hard one. Very good report. something we can really use over and over again. I just had a question so I could understand, like per page, when you have a topic, it says on the left goals, and then there's a numeral, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Like if you're on the same page, is all the ones that are number 1, does that mean they're all equal priorities, or does that?
No, it means they're aligned to the goals, the district goals.
So you
Here.
you reference back to that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
That was my
every-
question. Thank
And
you.
that was what the committee did. We jigsawed the committee work and they had to decide which of the goals, the district goals, because a lot of times it crossed over multiple goals with one strategy.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Other questions? Okay, next is the hearing of visitors. I think we have one. Chris?
My name's Chris Scaff. I'm a Region 1 candidate for the school board. And I just wanted to say, I know you're going to vote on the budget tonight and everything. And I just going to ask you out of your conscience to really think about it before you vote for it. Because I've been doing some checking and I'm real concerned that since 2018, the amount of students has gone down approximately 483 students since 2018. But the school board, or not the board, the school cost has gone up $15 million. In 2019, it was $74,496,832. Right now, we're talking about $89,377,620. That's a lot of money. I mean, none of us are going to make $15 million in our lifetimes. And I have some concerns with it. It's been broadcast that the average taxpayers is going to go up $55 on your property taxes, but that is not correct. And it's not, it may be able to say it's an average, but for that, I have it jotted down here that $134,000 home is going to pay about $55 more a year. A $180,000 home is going to pay $74 more a year. And a $350,000 home is going to pay $144 more dollars a year. So when people hear, oh, it's a $55 average, that's just not a real number. It may average to that, but I'm going to ask you guys to think with your conscience, your own parents, your own relatives, your own neighbors, can they afford it? I know a lot of the senior citizens can't swallow it. Our costs are going up and up and up. I got a cost of living increase this year of $128, and my insurance went up more than that. And it's tough. It's real tough. And I'm just really curious, does Keystone Central has such a big excess amount of budget? Do we have to increase taxes? Can't we tap into that a little bit? Because people are going to lose their homes. I mean, the working force in Clinton County is going down. It's not really coming up. And I just ask that you folks really take a look at that and think about it, because I don't want to see people keep moving out of the district and losing that tax base over these increases every year when there is an excess. I mean, schools have closed, but to go up $15 million in a couple of years is quite excessive. That's all I got.
Thank you, Chris. Next up is the superintendent's report.
Thank you. I just have a brief report this evening. Our administrative team is busy working to update the 10-year facility plan. We've been identifying projects and prioritizing them by building and district, and we plan to provide the facility committee with that updated draft 10-year plan in August at our next meeting. We did meet with the principals this week, and so that they can, go through it and prioritize by building, and then we can prioritize by district. We're still using the same criteria that we used last year for the last plan. We've had a robust group of candidates for the Central Mountain Middle School principal vacancy. We completed first round interviews yesterday with 8 experienced administrators, and we'll be moving into round 2 next week and the final round the following week with the board. So board members just keep looking for the invitation to that final round. It was really exciting to see the amount of people interested in our district and the comments that they made. Actually, I was going to mention the communication part is that they've said they were really impressed with a lot of things, such as the newsletters and the amount of information that we were sharing and how we were sharing it. And then finally, the 81st annual Laurel Festival in Wellsboro will be held this week. And Keystone Central School District has 2 excellent young women representing our district, including Miss Bucktail Haley Burrows and Miss Central Mountain Kelsey Burrows. I have very fond memories from the Laurel Festival when I was Miss Sugar Valley some time ago, and I hope that their experiences are special too. That's all I have this evening.
Okay. I'm not sure how far to go along here before I ask if someone wants to move the agenda.
Mr. President,
Yes,
I'd like to make a motion that we move the entire agenda except for those items specifically removed for consideration. I will be pulling I3.
We need a second. I'll second that.
okay, we have a second. We're removing I3, and I would like to remove G2. And I believe we're obligated to remove the budget item.
That's I3.
Oh, is that, oh, that's I3, okay.
Yes.
I thought it was J, okay, thank you.
We have to do curriculum too.
Okay, let's see, what are those?
It's down at the bottom. L1. L1.
L1.
L1 and L2, that's special ed curriculum.
Okay.
Is it L1 through 4, Jackie? I was just trying to get there. Yeah, the health and PE curriculum. So as L1,
Two.
special ed curriculum 2, teach down 3, news to you 4. Yes, those need to be pulled separately.
Thank you.
And I'd like to do J1.
Wow, a lot this time.
Oh, it's a big agenda.
It is a big agenda.
Yes.
Okay,
We need the roll call.
yes,
Mr. Elling,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Knopf, Mr. Knopf,
Yes.
Mr.
Saying yes.
Mr. Koch,
Yes.
Ms. Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Scholes,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Dietrich,
yes,
and Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
9 yes votes, motion passes.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the superintendent to fill vacancies prior to the next board meeting, prior or pending our approval.
okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right,
Is that I3?
ready for the vote?
G2. That's G2.
Okay.
Okay. Votes, please.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Knopf, Mr. Knopf.
He just gave us thumbs up.
Okay, I saw that. Mr. Koch,
Yes.
Ms. Lynch,
No.
Mr. Scholes,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Dietrich,
No,
Mrs. Donahue,
yes,
and Mr. Elling.
Yes.
7 yes votes, 2 no, motion passes.
Okay, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to pass the following policy, 3.26.1, the whistleblower policy.
Give a second.
Second,
Mr. Knopf? Okay. Mr. Coke,
yes,
Ms. Lynch,
yes,
Mr. Scholes,
yes,
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Dietrich,
Yes,
Mrs. Donahue,
yes,
Mr. Elling,
Yes.
and Mr. Johnston.
no,
8 yes votes, 1 no. Motion passes.
Okay, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to pass the following co-curricular items. That would be L1,
I think you have to do them separately because of the.
yes, yes. L1, K through 12, health and PE curriculum.
I'll second that.
vote please.
Mr. Coke,
yes,
Ms. Lynch,
yes,
Mr. Scholes,
yes,
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Dietrich,
Yes,
Mrs. Donahue,
yes,
Mr. Elling,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
yes,
and Mr. Knopf.
yes,
All right,
Got that one.
9 yes votes. Motion passes.
Okay, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agreement with Tushi Learning Solutions for the Competent Learner Model Curriculum not to exceed $7,000 paid for by the general fund.
okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Ms. Lynch,
yes,
Mr. Scholes,
yes,
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Dietrich,
Yes,
Mrs. Donahue,
yes,
Mr. Elling,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
yes,
Mr. Knopf,
yes,
and Mr. Coke.
yes,
9 yes votes. Motion passes.
Okay, Mr. President, I would like to make a motion to approve the agreement with Teach Town for the 23-24 school year to be implemented in all life skills support classrooms and secondary autistic support, not to exceed a total of $118,150.67, 80,498.75% paid for by the 23-24 curriculum fund, $18,825.96 paid for by the 24-25 curriculum fund, and $18,825.96 paid for by the 25-26 curriculum fund.
okay, do we have a second?
second,
Vote please.
Mr. Scholes,
yes,
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Dietrich,
Yes,
Mrs. Donahue,
yes,
Mr. Elling,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
yes,
Mr. Knopf,
yes,
Mr. Coke,
yes,
Mrs. Lynch.
yes,
9 yes votes. Motion passes.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the special education curricular program not to exceed $6,579.86 paid for by the curricular fund.
we have a second?
second,
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Dietrich,
Yes,
Mrs. Donahue,
yes,
Mr. Elling,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Knopf,
Yes.
Mr. Coe,
Yes.
Ms. Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
9 yes votes, motion passes.
Mr. President, all items that have been pulled for separate consideration have been voted upon in the affirmative.
All right, I think we forgot that. Yeah, we forgot the budget.
Thought we did that. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go back and do this.
It happens. We're human.
Okay, that's a fact. Okay. All right, Mr. President, I would like to make a motion that we adopt the 23-24 final general budget or the general fund budget in the amount of 89,370 or $89,377,620.
I'll second that.
Okay. Vote, please.
Mr. Dietrich,
No?
Mrs. Donahue,
yes,
Mr. Elling,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Knopf,
Yes.
Mr. Coe,
Yes.
Ms. Lynch,
No.
Mr. Schulz,
No.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
So 6 yes and 3 no votes.
Mr.
Motion passes.
Mr. President,
Yes, Wayne?
I'd like to offer my gratitude to the superintendent, to the business manager, and all the other people involved in writing up this budget, presenting it to us. Job well done, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Coe.
Okay, I think that's it.
I just wanted to say in the audience this evening is Mr. Paserno, who was included in the personnel agenda as a new teacher to our program. So, and our district, so welcome. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Science, middle school science at Central Mountain Middle School.
Awesome.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay. 7:02 PM, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.